Hey there folks, and welcome to another Factorio base tour. I'm Xterminator, and thank you so much for joining me today. And this is going to be a very unique base tour. It's really quite different than anything we've ever looked at. It's probably going to be on the shorter side because it is actually a fairly small base and map, but it has an interesting kind of goal in mind and techniques that are used here, which I thought would just be fun to showcase, and it was submitted to me. And I did want to take a look at it and go through it here. So right off the bat, you'll notice some interesting things going on here. And actually, before we get farther into it, this was submitted by Piru or Piru, I think. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that correctly. And there's some interesting stuff going on here. So basically, what's going on here is that they have used, now there are two bases. There's this base, which we will look at because this is actually a pretty interesting spaghetti base over here. But I spawned in this one, and this is utilizing biter bases to kind of contain and absorb pollution. Now, normally, like practically, I'm not sure how useful this would be. Just in a general base building sense, but just as an interesting way to show off the technique that this can be done. I thought this was pretty cool. So you'll notice here that they do have factory stuff going on. There are, so there's a robo network here, and there's like circuits being produced. There's actually, I think, all sciences here if we turn off pollution. There's red, green, blue, military, and purple all made here. And it looks kind of crazy because there's a bunch of bases here, but also it's a ton of wall. And the reason for this is to stop the biters spawning. So this is one thing you can do to basically force to build right in spawners without doing peaceful mode. Then you can do this, and it stops the biters from spawning because they have no place to actually spawn. Now you will notice some interesting, there are a few kill boxes here and there. So they have allowed the enemies to spawn in these very specific designated areas. I'm not entirely sure, they didn't explain, I'm not entirely sure the reasoning for this, if it's necessary for this to work without problems, or it's just for fun, that just like a evil thing to do, or what the deal is. Now, I was going to say, I'm not sure if it's on peaceful mode or not. It's not, because that biter did just attack. But I thought this was pretty interesting because, you see like these little zoos people create and like jokes about using spawners to absorb pollution. But this does actually show up being a thing. Also, I think something that we will all appreciate is this right here. They've made it so that, and this actually probably took quite a lot of trial and error, I would imagine. Made it so that biters spawn. I could actually just sit here and watch this for like 20 minutes. In this corridor here, and we have a rainbow train, it looks like, that plows through here constantly and just like forever mows down enemies. And we all love this, and this is just a hilarious example of it. I'm going to turn off alt mode too so we can maybe see it a little less cluttered. And this is just absolutely hilarious because this is, it's also like really really mean to the biters, but it's really quite entertaining because we can just watch them getting mowed down over and over and over again. In terms of how this is working, basically, bada bing, bada boom. I love the station names. They have these set here just with no conditions. And it basically, my understanding is that it's just kind of going from one to the next to the next to the next without stopping, because there's no condition here. Now, it did stop temporarily. I'm not sure if it stopped for fuel or something. But, because it would need fuel eventually. But you can see it's close up here how this is just continually obliterating the biters. So this is quite hilarious. And then, so we have a little power setup here, which is, pretty interesting. They really did have to, cramp stuff in here along with the walls just to make sure that stuff could fit where the biters, so biters don't spawn. And they also have like these kill boxes here with the flamethrower turrets. It's really quite interesting to see how they've done this. And then there's some like on a little island right here. And, we have circuits being made, a lot of direct insertion, and then bots, of course, moving it through because there's no way to be using belts due to all the walls being placed here. But pretty straightforward. Power, it looks like, I don't know if this is segregated from the rest of the base. It looks like it's not. So this is on base power as well, best I can tell. Um, and then, we have some mining here, some bots carrying stuff back and forth. We do have some uranium processing here as well. In, like a little box here with lights on that. This is kind of interesting. But Red Science is made here, and then they do have some research going on. Like, they do have a little research area here, and a rocket even. So there are rocket parts being made. Now, as far as I can tell, there's no yellow science. But there does seem to be rockets launched here. So that's pretty cool. And I just thought this was really, really interesting, that someone actually doing this. And I mean, this is hilarious. I really could just watch this for so long. Now, let's move over to the actual base. So you'll notice some spaghetti rails. These rails are quite spaghetti-ish. I mean, I think they're signaled okay. I mean, well, like I would make these like chain signals. This isn't a base review, obviously, so I'm not really going to critique too much. But some spaghetti rails going on. The trains are 1-2s, it seems, for the most part. We have a large Spidertron parking garage here. Oh, wow. Okay. It's more than I could tell from the map. This is a ton of Spidertrons. Holy moly. So we've got a ton of Spidertrons here. Some stuff without power, it looks like, but that may be intentional. Rails going through the base, and I mean, this is a pretty spaghetti-fied base here, I gotta say. We got stuff running all over the place. Belts running 2 different directions, multiple different directions here. Some going down, some going up. I don't know if they have labels. So they don't have labels in this base. We could kind of just start from the top here where all the smelting is. So we have one little iron smelter here, which seems to be just kind of merging in like as an additional support production there. So we have iron, and it looks like, I thought it was alternating, but it's not quite. So iron and steel, some more iron, some more steel over here, and then we switch to copper. And then more iron and more steel over here, as well as some brick. Using electric furnaces, which is interesting. As long as they have the power for it. I was a little concerned they wouldn't, but it seems they do. And then more copper over here. So we kind of just have this entire top section of smelting right here. And some stuff is brought in by train, we can see here. So this is like a iron delivery station right here, which is out, so they maybe can't quite keep up with the resource demand for this, for inputting ores and such, but overall things seem to be going decently. We'll notice red circuits here do not have any normal circuits. I'm not 100% sure where they're supplied from. It looks like here, but they prioritize the splitter to flow through and go to blue circuits. And then this is, of course, lacking iron, which probably can be routed back to the issue we just looked at. So we have circuits going on here, normal ratioed, using efficiency modules. So I guess, that is kind of interesting because they're using efficiency modules. I don't know if my guess, though, based on this, is they would be doing that to reduce pollution more so than power, because they specifically said that they did this type of thing to try to contain pollution. If it's for power reduction, I find it interesting because they're using electric furnaces, which of course take quite a lot of power, and then they're trying to reduce power elsewhere at the same time, where it's just using like steel furnaces would probably help a bunch. But they do have efficiency models and everything here, and we have multiple blue circuit builds, which are of course very difficult to feed. So not super surprising that they're not working fully. It is very difficult to feed blue circuit builds of any length past like 2 or 3 with belted in green circuits. So green circuit production here, more there. It looks like we have some robo frames as well as mixed in lasers, batteries, and some solar panels and accumulators. So kind of a make everything, maybe like a power armor supply thing plus some solar production here. It's kind of hard finding like where all the scientists are because there's no markers, but we have red and green. Here we go. So red and green here. Green is not going at all, actually, interestingly. This is lacking iron. So it looks like, as is the belt, it looks like basically all the problems can be routed back to not enough iron, which of course is the continual problem in Factorio, eternal problem. More of a kind of a belt make everything here with some additional Roboport production, some rockets there maybe for Spidertrons. More everything production up here. Some flame turrets, of course, which are very useful. And then some blue science production in here mixed along, merged in right here. We have the military science, which is actually running. Interestingly, military science is completely backed up. It's one of the only ones. Um, and then this is doing direct insertion with the engines, which I don't really see very often. Uh, the ratio I don't think quite works out, but it's really no big deal. So they are inserting here and missing pipes again, probably due to iron. But blue science is backed up, so that's a good sign. And then we have purple science over here, which is also backed up. I'm kind of surprised that the rail's able to be supplied, because it does take quite a bit of steel there. So these come down. We follow these down. There's some low-density structure production right next to yellow science, which makes sense, of course. And this is going to come over and just kind of swapped onto this belt and sent through. Split half to go on here into yellow science, and then half comes around and flows over to the Spidertron production area. Whole area for Spidertrons, which is not surprising based on how many we just saw. And then these come over and we have our lab section. Of course, using the pass-through method here, which works quite well up to an extent. This is definitely not hitting that limit at all. And then using filter inserters here to pass stuff back through, because so basically the reason for this is, if you don't know, if you do this method and you have a science coming in from the other side, you do need to use filter inserters like this, because otherwise what's going to happen is you're going to end up passing like all the sciences back through and then back through again. So you're basically just going to end up with this endless loop of science packs moving in and out and then not actually being able to do the research because they're constantly moving through the labs up and down. So doing this, that's a reason for having these filter inserters here, so they can pull in from the other side and not have that happen. A ton of poison capsules. Holy moly, that's a lot of poison capsules. so many poison capsules. A handful of speed 3s there. I'm not sure they'll really be using them based on all the efficiency modules shown. Some oil production here. Oil drop off. Smaller oil train potentially waiting, or that's Petro, it looks like. Yeah, so Petro waiting there. Some very, very compact squeezed together plastic. Wow, this is some very tightly built plastic builds. Sulfur squeezed in there. I really do love the spaghetti stuff. It's very interesting and entertaining to look at. And then this is interesting. So they're just doing a direct passover with belt rather than direct inserting. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this. I don't know that I've really seen it done like this before. I don't know if it was just they decided to build this way, or just the space didn't work out correctly when they placed this to do direct insertion or something. But pretty interesting to see that. If we zoom out a bit, I mean, over here we didn't really look at all this. So they kind of just have most of their train drop-off stuff over on this right side of the base. We have iron ore here, so there's multiple iron ore drop-offs. We have some coal here. This looks like an outpost or wall maintenance train. We can see here maintenance, which is way over here. Makes sense. Some kind of turned off dead uranium production right there. And then copper drop off there. Looks like another copper drop off there. Another copper drop off here. Decent amount of copper lanes coming in here, actually. Full, okay, these are yellow. Full 8 belt of yellow of copper coming through. Iron kind of scattered throughout below them. Artillery, they do have artillery. And I mean, these are some big bases. It looks like they chose a death world, probably, because this is definitely way too many bases this close to spawn to not be a death world. In terms of the outposts, they are scattered really in every direction, except for really this way. So some oil out this way, iron ore. So this is getting, you can see it's getting quite low. Stone, iron. Yeah, iron is struggling pretty hard, it looks like. I definitely need to secure more. I mean, this one's doing really great, but this seems to be dedicated just for this, which potentially was built after the fact. I'm almost positive it was built after the fact. It's kind of a supplement and just a interesting experiment there. Tons of copper. I mean, honestly, they don't really have much iron to choose from at this point. I mean, there's one here and decent one down here. Good luck getting to that. They do have artillery and a bunch of spider. They have a huge Spidertron army, so they certainly could do that. I'm curious if this is actually an army. Like, it doesn't look like they've queued things up unless they're all on my character here. Queue things up to have one thing follow another. I mean, I don't. Okay, so that's the Spidertron we're in. I don't see another remote linked. So maybe they just have this like in preparation. You know, when they do want to go out in an army form here, they can just kind of have these all follow. And wow, oh my goodness, holy moly, yeah, this is definitely a combo army. I didn't notice every single one of these is fully built out. Like it looks like all the same: 4 shields, 5 lasers, 2 batteries, and a fusion reactor. Now these would be fairly slow without the exoskeletons. Personally, I would add some exoskeletons. Um, well, some of these do. Some of these are like builders. The majority of these look to be combat. So yeah, if you want a Spidertron army, this is the way to do it. Because if you send this whole thing out, this whole like Spidertron platoon out, it's gonna just obliterate everything. Um, I mean, I imagine they're equipped with rockets. I don't think so. I can't see lower than down there. But even if they're not, I mean, this is a ton of lasers worth of stuff. You know, this is probably like 50 or 60 lasers worth here, and they'll just melt basically everything. If we look at research, I mean, they have done quite a lot of research. Robot worker speed 12, 64,000 working on that one. They have energy weapon damage 12 as well. So again, those lasers will just like probably one shot basically everything, aside from maybe the behemoths. Obviously, max laser shooting speed. There's no infinite research for that. They have done mining prod 13, which is pretty helpful. That's like 120, 130% mining prod. Artillery, they've done flammables here. Artillery range, they've done 3. This does get quite expensive very quickly. But overall, this is a very interesting base. I really like it. It's quite unique from the other stuff. You know, usually, I mean, every base we look at is unique in its own way. But the majority of them are these like huge, massive mega bases with like hundreds of hours and just like super, super, you know, intricate designs and stuff that had, you can tell, just spent like hours and hours and hours designing each build. Not that time wasn't put into this. That's not what I'm saying at all. This base does have about 118 hours in it. So a decent amount of time, and it's not like they didn't put work into this. Like I said, this type of stuff took a lot of trial and error, I imagine. And even their main base took quite a long time to build. But, you know, this isn't like a huge base, production or size-wise, but it's really interesting. I always love seeing these kind of spaghetti, you know, hodgepodge bases like this that still work. And this, you know, if it had iron, this thing would be cranking. Now, obviously, it has been in the past. This is a decent amount of research they've done for only having a little over 100 hours in this map. So when fully supplied with resources, this thing does really good. And then I just really find this interesting, and it is kind of a proof of concept in a sense. Now, it's not super practical, but, you know, because if we turn on pollution, like, there is pollution here, but you'll notice it doesn't really leave this. I mean, there's pollution outside of it, which is from, like, everything else, but you'll notice there is a little bit of a border around here with very little or no pollution, and this is because of the biter bases. You know, like Red Science even, there are machines here. Obviously, it's only a couple, but you'll see that there's really not much pollution, or it's just like flickering on and off. So the biters are doing, bases are definitely absorbing the pollution. And they probably would do even more if they put efficiency modules in the machines and stuff in these machines. And then this is just hilarious, ingenious. I love this. You know, we've seen a few things of this like on Reddit and stuff, but doing this is, I just love this. Now, I don't know what they do about situations like this. I mean, I don't know if this biter will eventually move. Obviously, I don't think he's going to get through. You know, the robots will continually repair this, but I I mean, I assume it's going to be dealt with in some form. Probably eventually it'll move, like if another binder spawns in that area or something. Um, or I'll just sit here forever. But overall, I mean, this is just so entertaining to watch. You know, I'm sure we could all just watch this for quite a long time. But I believe that's going to do it. Like I said, it's going to be a shorter one. Pretty unique type of builds here and techniques used that I just found really interesting. I'd love to hear what you guys think. You know, have you tried doing? Oh, getting a little stuck there. Have you tried doing like utilizing spawners to absorb pollution, or did you even know that was a thing? I think a lot of people may not realize that's a thing, and it's easy to forget as well. And then, you know, just any thoughts you have. I would love to hear if you've had experiences with this as well. If you did enjoy, a like is very much appreciated. If you are new to the channel as well, feel free to subscribe to see more content like this. I do have more base tours coming up. Several of them are massive bases. A couple of them posted to Reddit, which I've saved to look at. I'm in the middle of a move, though, so it'll be a little bit before I get to those. But I did want to get this one done before I moved, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I really did find this quite interesting. So thank you so much to Piru for submitting this. I really enjoyed looking at it. I'd love to hear your thoughts below. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.